All right. Let's go ahead and get started while we got some more people filing in. Thanks so much for those of you that are on already. Um, Quick intro again. I'm Ryan Dosen, Director of Sales here. I've got some team members. Eric's joining us today. Chris may hop on as well. As usual, for those of you that have been here, some of you haven't before, go ahead and type questions into the chat, and our team members may be able to help answering some of the questions. We'll try to make some time at the end as well for questions, but feel free to type those in along the way and we'll get to them when we're able to. Before we hop into Smarter Sales Part 3, just again, remember here at Host, your success as independent sales agents is our number one priority. It's one of the reasons why we're here every week, providing you guys hopefully useful information and ways to win more business out there in the field. You guys and your merchants have 24/7 tech support. You have personal relationship managers that know your business and help you achieve streamlined and quick merchant approvals. Here at Host, you also have access to a pretty unmatched selection of payment technologies out there, from physical devices with Valor, Deja Vu, Clover, and Genico, Swipe Simple, to name a few. A whole slew of different payment gateways, as well as some of our own software solutions that many of you are already taken advantage of with the Cloud Manager Suite. So again, we try to do everything we can to deliver for you guys, both in terms of technology, but also in terms of learning and information to equip you out there in the field to succeed at a high level, And so had a little bit of fun so far, fun with the Smarter Sales series, and let's get into part 3. Let me share my screen here. And again, welcome to Smarter Sales Series Part 3, Objections to Outcomes. Do a quick little recap here of the things that we've covered up to this point. So Part 1 was about discovery, asking better questions so that you can learn to win more deals. Part 2 was about presenting the smarter solution. So after you ask the questions, after you do solid discovery, you understand your client better. You need to be able to present solutions in a smart way so that you get buy-in from them and so you're able to close the deal. Today, we're going to be focusing on some common objections that you guys face out in the field and how to deal with them properly in a way that doesn't turn off or feel defensive. You don't want people to feel like you're getting defensive or you're arguing with them. You want to show them that you're helping guide them to the best solution for them. And then part 4 next week is going to deal with closing. So quick recap for those of you that were already here, and a recap especially for those of you that weren't here. Part 1, discovery. Key concepts that we covered there were, discovery helps create some direction, right? So you want to avoid feature dumping. You want to be listening more than talking. Nobody likes having just a spiel vomited on them. The spiel oftentimes is ignorant and deaf to the actual issues that the client or merchant is facing, right? We have to uncover those issues. We have to uncover those pain points. We have to ask the right questions to uncover the pain and not just process, right? So we have to ask the right questions. We have to understand. We have to figure out why things aren't ideal for them so that we can then present to them how we can make things more ideal for them, how we can make things better for them. Again, just the same spiel going to everyone. You're going to have to get very lucky, and you're going to have to hit the nail on the head. Even though you may think you're going to hit the nail on the head, every business is different. Every business owner is different, may have similar challenges, but they're not always the same. And even if many of them are the same, some are prioritized more than others. Okay, so again, how do you prepare for good discoveries? You need to know what you're going to ask going in. You're going to have to go beyond surface level responses. And then you have to personalize. You have to link your solutions to their goals. Okay, how can we make their life better? And present your solutions that are going to lead them to their own realization that going with you is going to be the better way to go. And part 2, quick recap on presenting smarter solutions. Okay, so the merchants, your potential clients, they're buying outcomes, not options. Right, you're going to come in with a one-pager or something like that, that's going to show all the highlights and features, right? Well, you may care about those features. They may care about some of them, okay? But what they really care about more than a feature is an outcome. That outcome is usually going to be them saving money or time or effort, frustration, right? So we have to figure out what outcome is needed in order for you to win, and then you're going to play to that, not just run through a laundry list of things, many of which it's not going to be interesting to them. And again, many of these business owners, they're very direct personalities. They're very no-nonsense personalities. They're people that if they feel like they're being sold something, they're going to turn off immediately, right? So that type of personality, they tend to be triggered by a couple of things. Feeling like somebody's wasting their time or feeling like somebody's trying to take advantage of them. Okay, so they're being sold on something as opposed to being provided a solution with what they're actually facing. Okay, so wasting time, so spieling and going through, all the things that you think they might have to offer, you're wasting their time, and you're giving them irrelevant information that's just not going to be useful. They're going to tune you out. They're going to walk away. All right, use language that connects both emotionally and logically, okay? We want to believe that they're going to make a move based upon logic, but usually in life when people are making a move, they're making those moves emotionally, right? And so that's where pain unfortunately comes in. We don't want to be fear mongers, but at the same time, they're not going to move unless we're able to tie this to emotion, right? And that emotion is usually frustration over wasting of time, money, effort. Okay, so we have to tailor it to that. And the framework again is you have to connect, reference what matters most to them after you've extracted that, clarify, simplify the value proposition. That's another reason not to just go through a solution, a list of solutions. Most of those are going to be irrelevant for them. And as soon as they hear something that they feel like is not relevant, many of them are going to tune you out and be like, oh, this is a waste of my time. That's not relevant. I don't care about that. And once they choose to tune you out, it's going to be very difficult to get them to tune back in. Okay. And of course, getting confirmation, you want to get a verbal agreement about what's going to happen before closing. All right. So part 3, objections to outcomes. Couple of things to be aware of here. Right. An objection should not be viewed as a flat out rejection. Right. It's more reflection. Okay. They're shining some light or giving some clarity as to, what their frame is, and what their pain point is. Okay. And the goal here is not to defend. If it starts feeling like you're getting defensive or you're arguing with them, well, nobody likes to lose an argument. Many of them don't have time for a confrontation or anything like that. Okay. So kind of like a yes and, sort of approach to things as opposed to something that might feel like, well, you're wrong about this, or I'm getting defensive, right? As soon as that becomes confrontational, a lot of people don't have time for that. We don't have time for this, right? And now it's not even, and if it starts becoming adversarial, obviously the deal's done there. People don't like to lose. We don't want that. Every objection hides a question that you can answer. Okay, so again, there's a lot of people out there in the world and even in sales that they get an objection and they fold, right? But there's always going to be an effective way to, we'll say, verbally parry or to continue the conversation despite an objection hitting. So we're going to talk about a few of the objections that you'll see out in the field today, and we'll give some framings as to how to kind of work around them or work with them to get to where you want to be, which is them choosing to work with you and to choose your solution to their problems. All right, so 5 common merchant objections. Your rates are too high. I'm already under contract. We're already under contract. Oh, we just upgraded our system. Can we do this later? I don't have time for this right now. We'll revisit this after the holidays. Or everybody's favorite, I need to think about it. All right, so we're going to talk about a few of these today. All right, so the objection decoder framework. Okay, four-step model, decode before you respond. Okay, so when they give the objection, you don't want to react immediately. You want to pause. You got to think about it for a second. You want to be sure to ask clarifying questions, like if I'm hearing you correctly, this. Okay, paraphrase your understanding, right? So you're going to clarify the question. Are you asking this? Okay, or if I'm hearing you correctly, your question is this, or this is what you're trying to, or this is what you're trying to do, or this is what you're worried about. And then the pivot, responding with context and value. Okay, so again, we're not going to say, we're not going to fight with them. We're not going to argue about what they're worried about. It's usually going to be something along the lines of completely understand where you're coming from, and then figure out how you can take it from, I don't want to do it for this reason, to you're totally right, right? Completely get where you're coming from. I talk with people every day that are in that exact same situation. Yes, and here's why you might want to consider still exploring this. Okay, so again, not arguing, just kind of, yes, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what you're saying, and this is why we might want to still keep talking. Okay. All right. So one of the most common ones, of course, the rates are high. Maybe you gave a quote and they feel like the rate itself is too high. Well, most of the people on the call, I think we're all aware that a lot goes into what they're going to pay at the end of the day that goes beyond what that rate is, right? There's a lot of games that companies will play out there to show on the front end, oh, well, this is your rate, but then you're getting walloped with fees and you're winding up paying a heck of a lot more. There's other things too, like with optimization, right? I think I mentioned on a webinar maybe a couple of months ago about a hotel out in California that did not have level 2, level 3 optimization, right? And even with us charging a higher rate because it was optimized, we were able to save them a heck of a lot of money. Okay, so it goes beyond just the rate. But again, they're not in our industry. It's not their job to know our industry. It's our job to kind of clear the fog as salespeople to help get to the core of things, right? So when they say your rates are too high, which a lot of times are not with hosts, but if they do say your rates are too high, I understand where you're coming from. Can I ask what you're comparing it to? Okay, so I see that it looks cheaper month to month. Can I show you the true cost with all the fees that are included? Okay. Another thing that people will do sometimes is like where they say the rates are too high, you can kind of reframe it and you can say, gotcha, I think I completely understand. I mean, at the end of the day, basically what you're talking about is you don't want to pay more than you have to. You want to pay, you wouldn't move unless you were going to be paying less. You're not going to move if you're going to have to pay more. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, well, completely understand where you're coming from. There's a lot of games that companies like to play. Sometimes when they'll put a low rate on the front end, but there may be a lot of fees on the back end. In this case, if you're interested, I'd like to show you how with maybe a slightly higher rate, you're still going to wind up saving a lot of money because after all the costs and fees are included, you're actually going to be where you want to be with a lower rate here with Host, or a lower overall cost for processing your client's payments here with Host. Okay. So again, you don't want to argue with them. You want to understand, you want to agree, and, gently shine the light on the fact that, well, that's not the total picture. Okay. All right. Contract objection. All right. So we're already under contract, or we're under contract for a certain amount of time. All right. So again, totally understand. Most merchants are under a contract. Do you know when your term ends? Okay. So you've got about 6 months left. Okay. So it's perfect timing to review options before your renewal hits. Okay. That's one direction that you can go. And of course, who knows how long the contract's going to be. Now here with Host, I think all of you know this, but if you don't, and for those people that are going to watch this that aren't agents with Host yet, we don't hold people to contracts. Okay, so this is actually a really great objection for you guys to get when you're out there in the field. Contract. Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that make people sign long-term contracts. Yeah, we don't do that. But how long, out of curiosity, how long is your contract, right? So you can already kind of let them know that, hey, they're not in a great situation there, Um, depending upon how thick you feel like you want to lay it on, of course, you can get into the fact that, yeah, we at Host, we don't hold people to contracts, but they actually stay with us like 4 times longer than they do with everybody else, even though we don't hold people to contracts. That's because we don't play games with them. First game being trying to lock people in and not letting them leave. Now, a lot of times these contracts will come with some sort of termination penalty or something like that. And I've actually had a bunch of people where they were going to still be money well ahead by going ahead and terminating their contract early and coming over with us. Okay. That's always a distinct possibility too. So it's like, so how much is it going to cost you to stay versus terminating early? Do you know what the cost would be for you to terminate early? You're in a contract, but do you know how much it would cost you to break that contract? Because you're going to save X amount of dollars with us on a monthly basis. Okay, well, maybe it's going to cost you a few $100s to terminate early, but you're going to save a few $100s a month by working here with Host. So yes, worst case, maybe you even do wind up paying an early termination fee, but you're going to be money if you're locked in for 6 months, but your savings are going to take care of that penalty in a month. And then you're going to be money ahead for 5 months. We can wait 6 months, or we can essentially save you money for 5 out of the next 6 months. So again, we're under contract. There's a lot that you can do, a lot that you can do. There are a lot of different directions you can do. And again, with Host, where we don't hold people to contracts, that's a great way. That's a really great objection. Anyway. All right. Of course, we don't want any objections, but if you're going to get an objection, that's one that you can do a lot with, especially here working with Host. We just upgraded our system. Okay, so that totally makes sense. It's smart to invest in better tools. What kind of system you switch to? Got it. You're still getting used to got it. So you're still getting used to the new system. Well, the pivot could be that it's the perfect time to review your payment flow. We often find that small adjustments, can lower processing costs even with new systems. Okay, so many times, by the way, with a new system, sometimes we can integrate. So they may have a new system, but it may be one where we can integrate payment processing. A lot of times they're locked, but we may be able to integrate, and they can still save money. They may not even know that. They may not even know that we can integrate in. Okay. A frame shift also is, okay, maybe they're really brand new into the system, right? And so if they're not even adjusted to the new system yet, then now might be a great time to really, really make sure that they're in the best possible position. Okay, so again, this one's a tough one. Again, if someone just dumped thousands of dollars on new systems and technology, like a Toast or something like that, that could be a tough battle to win there. But it's not always. And Another thing that you can do too, in terms of framing and making sure you're hearing them correctly, you can ask, right? You can be direct and you can say something like, okay, got it. Yeah, so you just switched to a NIST system. So I'm guessing your hesitation is you're worried that it's going to either cost a lot or it's going to be a lot of effort to get onboarded with the new system and to get onboarded with a different system, right? And then if it's the cost, well, you can figure out the cost, right? And it may just be something you can't solve. Or if they're worried about the hassle, that gives you a chance to flex on Host's, best in industry, best in class, customer and tech support, right? So they may be worried about, how much time and effort it's gonna take to get this going, but you can be like, hey, we hold your hand through the whole process. It's actually not that difficult at all. The most important thing, you don't know anything to me. The only person you owe something to is yourself and to your business, right? You want to make sure you're in the best position, not only short term, but also long term. So look, if this is too much, I get it, but if you'd like to explore it, now's not a terrible time to explore it because you're not even fully built into the new system yet. Okay. Um, timing. All right, we'll revisit after the holidays. Okay, or we'll talk again in a few months, right? So again, totally understand holidays are crazy. Um, Good luck to all of us this holiday season. Um, you know, would you be open to a quick prep call so you're ready to hit the ground running in January? So you just uh, want to avoid disruption during the holidays. Just to clarify, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it's going to be wild, and I get it, right? You feel like you don't have time for yet another disruption during the holiday season. Okay. Um, so again, yes, and I get it. Holidays are going to be crazy for me. Holidays are going to be crazy for you. Um, Completely get it. Just to consider, I've got a lot of people I'm talking with every day in that exact same position, and a lot of them are still choosing to meet with me just briefly now, just to kind of get a game plan, and so we can have your savings ready to go or your new tech ready to go for you so you can hit the ground running in January. Okay. And again, I think a lot of times to kind of get these meetings going and, it needs to be framed as it's not a big deal. It's just going to take a few minutes of your time, and you're going to thank yourself in January when it's already ready to go and we just flick the on switch, right? We're going to do most of the work. We're going to do all the heavy lifting, and then we'll just flip the on switch. Okay. And here, of course, let me just think about it. Okay. And so if they say, well, I need to think about it, one way to go is say, yeah, of course, I completely get it. This is an important decision. Um, Clearly you're thinking about something, right? So, is there something specific that you're thinking about? Or sometimes people will use something like, I completely get it. This is a big decision. This is your business. This is your baby. Um, what I'm feeling from you is some hesitation, obviously, and usually there's something that is causing someone to have that hesitation. So, what is it specifically that's causing you to hesitate right now as opposed to moving forward? Um, just so that I can clear the fog for you, right? Again, you just want to make sure that it's the right fit, okay? Um, whether that's the merchant wants to make sure it's the right fit, but also you need to, the energy or the words that are coming out of your mouth too, you need to help them feel like you want to make sure it's the right fit for them, right? So if there's anything that's causing them to have pause or hesitation, which there is because they're not signing right now, you know, maybe I haven't done a good enough job explaining something, or maybe there's something that we've talked about today that isn't sitting right with you. So please just tell me, I won't be offended by it. Please just tell me, what's causing the hesitation for you today. Okay. And so then when you put them on the spot, a lot of times people will tell you what's in the back of their mind, what they've been holding back that they were going to think about. But of course, when I think about it, they're probably not coming back. You need to get that information now in the moment. If you don't get that information now in the moment, you may never get another chance to talk with them again. So it's kind of a now or never thing, right? So need to think about it. What do you need to think about? But don't say it like that, right? If I'm reading your energy correctly, if there's something I've said or that has you not convinced that this is a great solution or it's going to be a big win for you, would you mind just telling me some more about that? What doesn't seem like it would be a great fit for you here, just so I can understand, because I want to make sure I understand, because we need to get you the best fit. Okay. And that, tell me some more about that. It's a question/command I've talked about a few times during our time together. Again, that tell me some more about that, that communicates that you care and want to learn more. It's also actually a command, and most people will follow it because it doesn't feel like a command. It feels like, I'm trying to help you here. Help me help you, right? So it's a really good thing to use and have in your repertoire. All right, so reframing, busy right now, perfect. We can get you ready for when things slow down. That's another one right there. We just switched processors. That's great. Learn, how's it going so far? We're fine with what we have. I hear that a lot. May I share one quick way others improved margins without switching hardware? Okay, these are just some other reframings here. All right, so the objection to outcome checklist: listen fully, repeat back what you heard, ask a clarifying question, respond back with confidence but not being defensive, anchor back to the value that you can bring and the value specifically directed at their pain point, and then confirm the next step. What are we going to do now? Okay, so again, wrap up in next steps here. Again, every no or something that feels like a no can be turned into a yes. Don't just take the no or objection and tuck tail and run, because if you do, you're probably never going to win that deal, may never get a chance to talk to that person again. Okay, so you're there. This may be your only chance, so make it work and give it your best shot, and you don't be the one to end it. All right, so next week is the confident close and turning conversations into commitments. For those of you that are not already with Host, and a refresher for those of you that are, okay, we talked a little bit in the beginning about why Host. We feel like Host is a really great fit, and why we've built it to be a great fit both for you agents and your merchants. Okay, again, there's always transparent, lifetime locked pricing with Host. Okay. A lot of companies out there don't do that. This is going to help you win a lot of deals. A lot of people are going to have noticed that their rates have increased over time. That doesn't happen here. Best in class customer service. Talked about that before. They can go straight to Google and find that. That's not even just you puffing. There's no puffery there. That just is what it is. No contracts or penalties. We talked about that today too. Okay. You as agents, you have your lifetime residuals, unmatched training tools and support. I don't know a lot of companies out there doing what we do here, pouring into you guys on a weekly basis. And, again, we feel like this is a partnership that we wanted to build on trust, as well as high quality customer service and support. We feel like we've done a great job with that. So again, help us help you. Reach out to your RMs, those of you that are already with Host. Those that aren't, you should know, again, you have dedicated relationship managers that will be assigned to you. So if you ever have any questions, you can reach to me, but you can also reach out to your relationship managers. That's what they're here for. I have a lot of agents that will call me about this very stuff we're talking about right now. Hey, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how do I deal with this objection? What's the best way to do that? Okay? A lot of companies, you don't have someone that you can call on that's going to help you navigate through this stuff. Okay. Last thing, the demo requests. So again, the Cloud Manager promo is still going. That's that software for gyms, studios, contractors, property managers, stuff like that. All that software is still being offered free for life to merchants that sign up and get up and running with a payments account and the software here. So that's hundreds of dollars a month in savings for many people. And there's a lot of people taking advantage of that every single week. So that promotion is still here. If y'all are new and unfamiliar with it, reach out to me. Got my contact info right there. We can tell you more about it. It's helping a lot of agents win business that they weren't going to get otherwise by having additional value that's added on top of service, support, and savings. It's also software. So anyway, let me see really fast if we have any. Stop share. We have any questions? No questions. All right. Well, we'll wrap up a minute early again. Boy, I'm killing it now. Thanks so much for hopping on, everyone. Everyone have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week for part 4.